Hello, this is Telltale. I'm Greg.
And I'm Emily. Welcome back, guys. And today we're going to be reviewing Critical Mass.
Yes, now this is the first time we're reviewing a new-ish book. Normally we do stuff that's older than I am.
Yeah, and this is a newish fiction, we should probably, because we've done some newish books that are non-fiction, but this one is a newish fiction book. And this was actually requested by one of our viewers who was like, "Hey, want to review this? I'll send it to you."
This is we're pretty new, of course. Just started this year, and this is the first time we've had somebody say, "You want to do a review of my book?" And so I thought, what the heck? Why not? Let's try it out. So he sent us a free book. Cool.
Thank you.
I actually did buy a copy myself so that we could both read at the same time.
Yep.
And because I believe in supporting authors, we should pay for these things because most of these authors are not millionaires.
It's true. A lot of them are independently published.
Yeah, and so they want to sell their books because they're hoping to make something off of them, at least break even.
Yep.
And this being self-published, I believe the publisher is, what's the name again?
It's called Shared Words.
Shared Words.
They have a cute little...
Not familiar with that, but I'm assuming it's a self-publishing company where you pay them to print your book and you send them a manuscript and do all the editing and stuff yourself. So the other reasons this was of interest to us is because we are interested in H.P. Lovecraft and cosmic horror. And this book is very much in that vein of cosmic horror.
Sure.
Now, the main author, and I assume he chose the other authors also, or maybe those are his close friends or something, but the main author is C. Scott Davis. He's the one who sent us the book and contacted us. And he hasn't published a whole lot. He's got a couple books out there, this being one of them, and then he has stories in a handful of different anthologies. Otherwise, very little information about him out there, which is really sad, I think. And we'll get into the reasons why very shortly. So, do you want to talk about some of the synopses of stories here?
Yeah, so, there are several, let me count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 short stories and then I guess novella, or novelette, would you call it? I think it's
novel-like.
Yeah,
it's about 200 pages.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a shorter work, but it's not, oh, it's good. So, I mean, they go into a lot of things. I have personal favorites that I want to give those synopsis of first. I really liked Infernal Ratio. Because both Greg and I are graphic designers and artists, and that one in particular was about an artist who kind of gets himself into some kind of upper echelon trouble, ends up losing his studio, and then gets seeked out by this crazy, not even crazy lady, she's just kind of witchy, very Addams Family-esque in this old building, and she has this instrument, like a bone, that has this particular ratio that's a little off from the golden ratio, and she commissions this artist to do a mural in her home, and he ends up summoning something. I don't want to call it a demon necessarily, but it definitely summons a character in the image from the distance, and progressively as time goes on, the character comes forward more and more and more until it eventually comes and nabs you.
Yes, and that story does reference a classic horror story. And I don't want to say too much more than that because it'll spoil it.
It's really, I know, these are so good, like I almost don't want to tell you all the synopsis. Another one, my second favorite, was The Angel Seed.
That was good.
That was a really good one. It was about this girl and her family live kind of in a coal mining town area in the mountains. And they have like this ghostly figure that one day shows up, and it doesn't hurt anybody, so nobody really cares about it. It just kind of becomes this thing that shows up every once in a while. It looks kind of like a sheet floating in the wind, or like a plastic ethereal bag, and everybody calls it the Angel. And so one day she her grandma's not doing well, and so she thinks, oh, well, if it's an angel, I should go be able to, like, attract it or, like, pray to it and see if it'll save my grandma. So she leads it to her grandmother's bedside, and it ends up, like, getting inhaled by the grandmother and, like, basically turns her into some kind of, like, giant tumor thing after she dies. And then it kind of revives them as these, like, sentient things. And they find out later that it starts spreading to other people who have died or who are also sick. And it's, like, feeding off of abnormal cells, like tumors, cancers, things like that. And kind of turning those tumors into sentient beings. So she and these paranormal guys show up one day after this has been going on for a few months, and kind of start befriending this little girl, and they try to figure out how to save people or how to, like, at least deal with the situation. And it kind of has a cute semi-ending. It's almost kind of a cliffhanger ending, but I really enjoyed that because there's, like, that part of me that also is a storyteller that wants to continue to tell the story. So those were two, I think, that were my favorites. Out of the short stories, other than Critical Mass itself, which was a fantastic story. Wake was pretty short. It was kind of a being wakes up and feels like it's not the being it's supposed to be kind of situation. So that was really...
That one I felt was just way too short.
Yeah, it was too short. I wish it had...
I couldn't get into it.
I liked it, though. Like, I got into it because what a fascinating idea. And greedily I wanted more. Not because it wasn't good, but the greedy part of me wished there was more to expound on because I wished I had more story. So it wasn't bad. I could get into it, but it was very short and for some people that can, and very vague, and for some people that can be really disappointing. Killing Me Softly. It's been a while since I read that one. Can't remember that one as well. Not Ice Riders. Killing Me Softly.
Yeah, I'm forgetting it already, too. It was a really good one.
There was a buzzing. Yeah, it's the one with the buzzing noise.
Okay.
That one wasn't as memorable to me. It was another fairly short one.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of those running from a dream sort of feeling ones. Where you've got this shadow of something that's, like, after you and you aren't quite sure what it is. And so you're just kind of, like... the person, in the end, the person's, like, afraid to go to sleep, and because he keeps hearing this buzzing noise, like something's in the background, or like bugs or something is in the background of his brain, and it wasn't as memorable to me, so that's why I had to go look at it.
Though it was a little, like she says, it was a little uncertain just what was going on, and almost want to know a little more, but I got kind of an Invasion of the Body Snatchers vibe from it.
And that's kind of what I got from Ice Rider too, was this Invasion of the Body Snatchers meets the Blob. That was another one where the synopsis was this guy starts noticing that things are not, he has, like, this internal sense that things are not what they were supposed to be.
Yeah.
Like, he's noticed it in hamsters, like something was snatching their bodies, and he started observing it, and then, like, he ended up finding that, like, ice is what stopped it or killed it or whatever. It felt very much Invasion of the Body Snatcher. Sort of thing. So that one was also pretty good, and it had a nice nod to that classic piece. So I appreciated it for that.
Right.
So those were the short stories. The long story, Critical Mass itself, dude, I threw the book across the room and screamed with how excited I was when I finished this. I'm like, this is so good. How is this not better? Like, I don't get this excited. Like, I get excited about books, but I don't get so excited where I have, like, an emotional book hangover. You know what I mean? Where you just feel like you can't do anything else. You're just like, oh my gosh, the book is over. I want more. I want more from this writer. I feel like there's a hole in my life now that I finished it, kind of thing. And that's what I got from Critical Mass. Critical Mass synopsis is this guy ends up having an electrocution accident. He gets hit with, like, 500 watts or something, or volts or whatever, and ends up, because of I think an electrical unit hit an aquarium at the restaurant that he was eating at, and the water hit him, and he electrocuted and died. And when he died, he got passed into another universe, but he didn't know it. He just thought, you know, he was dreaming or something, and then he was revived and brought back to the hospital. He had a lot of physical things, like he had tinnitus, and his eyes dilated, and eventually his tinnitus turned into voices that were talking to him. His eyes never stopped dilating, so he had to, like, permanently wear glasses in order to be able to function normally, because his eyes would not go back, the pupils wouldn't go back to normal size.
Yeah.
And over time, he started having these nightmares about this dark, very Lovecraftian, tentacled creature thing in this black ocean planet seeming place. Trying to grab at him. And so he was, like, afraid to go near walls for a while, and he ended up having such bad psychosis that his wife takes him to the mental hospital per his wishes, because he's like, I feel crazy, I don't know what's going on. So he goes through treatments. He meets another inmate who also has similar experiences and is like a brilliant physicist who talks about the probability of other universes and the importance of not being seen by the other universes. So that kind of piques his interest, but he eventually gets medicated, gets out, and then his sister starts having the exact same psychosis.
Yeah.
And then other people start having the exact same psychosis. So he keeps visiting the mental hospital where his sister is at and meeting with all these people trying to figure out, why are we all having the same psychosis? And I don't want to really tell you the end because it's really, really good. Like, I'm usually not bad about, like, I'm usually like, I don't care if I give you a spoiler alert or not, but this one was so good. I really don't want to ruin it for people. This was really interesting. The physics and concepts of parallel universes was really well thought out and really well explained. Some of those complexities were really well done. I really enjoyed that piece of literature. I liked the husband-wife relationship in it. At first I thought it was a little cheesy, but as the story played out and the characters deepened, it felt really appropriate to how hard the situation was for the main character and how much responsibility he felt eventually, because here's a little spoiler. They're basically the coming about of the end of the world. All these people who are getting infected by whatever this psychosis is. So they're bringing about the end of the world. So he has a lot of, like, deep sense of responsibility and, like, has this conflict of, I have this loved one in my life who's trying to support me through this, and this is such a big deal, and how did I drag her into this, and, like, how did my death bring about the end of the world? My death and coming back to life bring about the end of the world, and all this craziness that's... It all is later really well explained. It doesn't feel like a cop-out explanation. It was just so well done. I was very pleased with it.
But it's dark.
Yes, it's very dark. This is not...
Very dark ending.
If you have seasonal depression, maybe you shouldn't read this. Wait till summer, but it's so good.
Yes,
so
it's
good.
Very Lovecraftian and a page turner. I couldn't believe how quickly I read through it because I just kept going.
It. Yeah, I breezed through it.
Couldn't stop.
Yeah, when I picked it up, there was a big gap. Like, if you look on my Goodreads, there was a huge gap of time where I just didn't read it, but I had a lot going on in that time period. Yeah. But this was really, once I picked it up, it was done very quickly. It was so good. So good. I just can't get over it.
Yeah, so the two of us, we're not being paid for a review for this. Well, except we got a free book out of it.
Woo! Thank you.
So we have no reason not to totally rip this apart if it was bad. But
yeah, seriously.
We both kind of looked at each other and asked the question, why is this guy not better known? Why is this book not on awards lists? This thing's great.
Yeah, here's my thing. One, I think a lot of people get overlooked or don't get... Like, if this is self-published, which we don't know, so, I mean, give us a little... Judge us softly here. We'll judge you as softly as we can. If this is self-published, a lot of people just don't know how to do their own marketing. And that's normal. When you get into a nice publisher, they take care of a lot of that for you. They put you out there. They get you in Barnes & Nobles. They get you in columns. They get you in, literature stuff, like periodicals and things like that. They
Promote
put
you
you,
through
yeah, they
Amazon.
promote you, yeah, they promote you like crazy.
Mhm.
So a lot of the time, it's just people who are self-published don't know how to market themselves. Another thing, which is the only downfall to this book, no disrespect to the original illustrator, this cover is not doing it justice.
No.
Like,
I mean, it does kind
It's
of
not-
fit the story.
yeah, it
critical
fits the
mass,
story,
but-
and it's not a bad piece of art, but it is not dynamic enough to how good this piece of literature is.
Yeah.
From a graphic design standpoint, this is a very static, normal looking. I would not think to pick this up off of a shelf. One, because it's a soft cover. Two, because it's very blue. Like,
Nothing wrong with blue.
no, there's nothing wrong with blue, but like it's very monochromatic. If it's on in a spine, there's nothing on this spine that indicates to me anything dynamic at all. I feel like it just needs maybe a more high contrast image. I did like the use of of this typography, but it could use, this is also used in the design of the interior. The tentacle creature actually speaks in this font, which I think was that was a fun detail. I actually really liked that use of it, but it's not exactly book cover material typography. But other than that is the only qualm. Like the storytelling, the interior, all of the content of this book is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's the presentation. This is not going to sit on an end cap at Barnes and Nobles and be well noticed.
Yeah, and well, of course, if this is only being distributed through the internet, you don't really have to have you do need to have kind of a neat image to go on to show on the internet, but otherwise the rest of the package doesn't really have to be there.
Yeah,
because people are buying from whatever digital representation you put in there. But if I love a book, I want something that's better than a paperback.
Yeah, I want something that's collectible if I can get my hands on it.
If I can. And it's just a shame that I can't get a nice hardcover edition of this book. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
You can get it as an ebook. You can get it in this trade paperback.
Which is nice. I mean, it's not a bad
and they're
paperback.
fine,
It's good. It's good paper. It's
Yeah.
durable. It's just not. I would want something like this as a collection anthology of horror, and this book cover and design does not speak the quality that's within. That's really what it is. Like, people say don't judge a book by its cover.
Oh, we
but
do.
Everyone does. That's the whole point of a book cover, is so people can judge it and be like, ooh, that's pretty, or ooh, that's interesting. I want to grab that off the shelf and figure out what it's about. It has to be eye-catching. It has to be tactile. It has to, give more texture. It can't be monochromatic like this. It has to have higher contrast. It has to have something more that speaks to its contents and to the quality of its contents.
Yeah, when I worked at TSR, I saw there how people were buying a lot of the games and books because of the illustrations on the cover, and they had a great staff doing some really amazing illustrations.
Yeah, like even this
but
with
it was
like
very important.
a person action shot in there or something, like somebody getting tangled up in it, a hand coming out, anything would have been better than this, and I just lost one of my false nails. Oh well. That's how excited I was. I just
stopped the camera.
Yeah, no. But that's the whole point of a book cover, is actually to judge it.
Yeah.
People always say don't,
It's
but
what cons us into buying it, really.
that's
at
marketing.
At a time when we have no clue if it's going to be good or bad.
Yeah. So this was a really great read. I can't stress it enough. I was so impressed with it. I'm usually pretty picky, and honestly, I haven't read a lot of horror books.
Okay.
So I didn't know how I was going to feel about reading horror, but I was just blown away. I couldn't get enough of it. So this was a really excellent read. The only downfall was the design of this cover.
Yeah.
And
so that says a lot, that
yeah.
in order to rip on anything, we have to rip on the graphic
I
designer
know,
and
right?
illustrator.
Yeah.
All the authors are
and
safe
like I
here.
said, the cover painting is The Coming of Cthulhu by Jeroen van Valkenburg. I think I said that. How would you say it? Jeroen?
Okay.
Yeah, Jeroen van... I'm sorry if I slaughtered it. It is actually... It's a very nice piece. It's just not...
And I think it
book
gives
cover.
a date of like 2011 for that illustration, so it wasn't even painted for this, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Yeah, somebody just bought the rights to the image.
It does it does very much fit the story Critical Mass. It just doesn't
It's just not book
blow
cover.
you away
Yeah.
like a Michael Whelan painting. You know, of course, he's probably too expensive, but you know, that sort of a painting or a book cover like we're usually holding up here would really do a lot to hook people into this. But then also, you know, it's hard to get the attention of the big publishers.
It is.
Especially if you don't have the latest Brandon Sanderson, you know, that they know they're going to make multi-billion dollars off of. Then it's hard to get their attention. And so then when you're on your own, it's very expensive to promote your own work. So it's hard to do that, and very hard to cut through the just vast sea of information on the internet to get people to see it.
And then you have to come to low lives like us and they have to review your book. No.
Yes, well, I hope.
Yes.
I hope this convinces some of the other booktubers out there to try this and promote it on their channels and get it in front of their thousands of people.
Yeah, the day
because it's worth it. It deserves to be seen. It deserves to be read.
It really is. There are some fantastic pieces of literature in this compilation. There wasn't a single one that I was super disappointed with, but I wasn't expecting to be like so emotionally involved in the book that I had a hard time when it ended. I did not expect to love it as much as I did, but it was so fantastic. I cannot express how exciting it was, like, to read this.
And when he first came to me and I first saw the book, I'm thinking, well, okay, it's probably going to be good, but nothing spectacular.
No.
But we'll still give it a chance and see how it is. And it really, really surprised me. It went way beyond my expectations of... You know, because I'm mostly familiar with the old stuff from, you know, before 1980. I haven't read much of anything after that, and so I'm more familiar with the Lovecraft work and and Richard Matheson and you know, the Shirley Jackson and Jerome Bixby and writers like that. And this stands right alongside them as far as I'm concerned.
This is instant classic worthy for sure. It's well done. It's a good combination of nods to classics while also still having a very original storyline, having very memorable characters, having a very involved experience. I liked the use of, especially in Critical Mass, the hive mind. How everybody infected had a hive mind. I thought that was a really nice detail, and like how that dialogue is not easy to write, and it made sense, and it was done well. Oh, I just couldn't get over how good that was done. So kudos, like that is not easy to do, is to have multiple people having multiple conversations in one head and still being able to tell who the character is. Yeah. Based off of how they spoke and what they said. Like I knew who was speaking without them even having to say their name. Like, it just was awesome. And even after other characters got added in, the tone was so different. Oh, that was just so well done. I was so impressed with that. Yeah. Really well done.
Yeah, and just developing that whole, well, it's the normal world, but that thing that develops through the story of
the dual sight.
Of his mind and the dual sight.
The dual sight thing.
Just how he described that, it was very vivid and really excellent.
Yeah, because everybody can kind of speak to that a little bit. Everybody who was infected with the psychosis could see the world as, like, ending. So certain people had, like, lesions and were mutilated and maimed and severely injured and had things on fire and all kinds of stuff. Chairs were broken. Buildings were not intact. But they also saw the real world so that they could navigate it.
But the story kind of goes into that progressively, starting from a standpoint where things are just a little bit off and just progressively get worse and worse and worse. Yeah. And that was very cool.
That was very well done. And the descriptions were vivid enough that you really felt like you could see it. It was so good.
And the ending was both positive and negative.
Yes.
That's all I have to, all I have to say about it.
Here's what I'll say. There are some endings where that's the only way it could end. Because there's no way certain people can function. I'm going to stop there. Some people can't handle what they've been through. Let's put it that way. And so some things have to end a certain way. in order for there to be closure, both for the audience and for the character. I think this was well done that way.
Yeah.
That was really good.
So do everybody a favor and run out and buy this one. That's how great. How
and it's inexpensive. Really nice, inexpensive literature. Hell yes. Please buy it. I got so excited. I actually posted the day I finished it. I went to everywhere that I could write a review for this book, and wrote a review for this book, because this was impressive. Also, yes, please, when you find books you love and authors you love, you write reviews on Goodreads.
Pass it on. Don't just say, great book. And
how can you love literature and not tell people that you love literature?
Yeah, that's the only way authors are going to be able to make it.
I was the third person on Amazon to review this book. That's sad. This is a really great book.
It's got
it doesn't deserve
2017
that.
copyright, so it's been around for 3 years.
Yeah. This is a phenomenal book. This
Yeah.
was so good. It deserves way more reviews than it gets. So please, read it. Give an honest review. Even if you hated it, give a review anyway. Because the more reviews authors get on those venues, the more their book kind of gets promoted through the algorithm.
Yeah.
So just do what you can for them. I mean, this was a great piece of literature.
And hopefully we'll see Scott Davis writing more in the near future.
Please do.
'Cause I want to read more.
I like your work. Give me more. Thank you. But yeah, that's all I can say. Go fucking buy it and fucking read it. Gosh, this is such great literature. Anyway, that's all I have.
Okay, me too.
All right.
So we'll end it at that. Come back next time.
Yeah, subscribe, let us know what you thought, and please buy Critical Mass. Gosh, it's so good. Anyway.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.